I did not count calories. I did not add more workouts. I did not starve myself or follow a trendy diet. I only removed 6 common foods, and the weight dropped fast. 15 pounds. That is not luck. That is biology. Most people are taught that weight loss is about eating less and moving more. That idea sounds logical, but it ignores how the human body actually works. The body does not respond to math. It responds to signals, hormones, inflammation, blood sugar. In this video, you are going to learn why certain foods quietly block fat loss even when calories look controlled. You will learn how some foods raise insulin all day long without you noticing. You will learn why hunger is not a lack of willpower, but a chemical reaction. And you will learn why removing the right foods can cause weight to drop without forcing anything. This is not about extreme dieting. This is not about punishment. It is about understanding what your body is reacting to. Most weight loss plans fail because they focus on effort instead of cause. People push harder. They eat less. They move more, but the scale does not move. Or it moves briefly, then rebounds. That happens because the real problem is still there. Certain foods keep the body in storage mode. They increase insulin. They increase inflammation. They disrupt hunger hormones. They make fat loss nearly impossible, even at low calories. When those foods are removed, something changes. Hunger calms down. Energy improves. Cravings weaken. And fat loss starts to feel automatic. In this video, I will walk you through the 6 foods that stop my fat loss completely. These are foods many people eat every day. Some are even labeled as healthy. Doctors rarely explain this clearly. Nutrition labels do not warn you. Each food affects the body in a different way. Some spike blood sugar. Some damage metabolic signals over time. Some interfere with sleep and recovery. But they all share one thing in common. They keep weight stuck. By the end of this video, you will understand why removing these foods mattered more than counting calories. You will understand why the scale changed without extreme effort, and you will know exactly what to look out for in your own diet. This information is not based on opinions. It is supported by metabolic science, endocrinology, human physiology, the same mechanisms doctors study when treating insulin resistance and obesity. That is why staying until the end matters. Each food builds on the previous one. The final explanation ties everything together. If you miss it, the picture stays incomplete. This is not about perfection. It is about awareness. Small changes in the right place create big results. If you are tired of fighting your body instead of working with it, this video will help you see things differently. If you feel stuck despite trying hard, there is a reason, and it is not a lack of discipline. Welcome to our channel. Here we break down weight loss using real science, not hype. Simple explanations, clear facts, no extremes. If you want to learn how to lose fat in a way that actually works with your body, subscribe to the channel now and stay with us until the end of this video because the most important insight comes last. Weight gain is rarely a willpower problem. Most people are trying hard. They are eating less. They are saying no to foods they enjoy. They are pushing through hunger. Yet the scale does not move, or it moves slowly and then stops. That happens because the body is not controlled by motivation. It is controlled by hormones. Hormones decide whether food is burned or stored. They decide whether you feel hungry or satisfied. They decide whether fat stays locked in or gets released. When these signals are balanced, weight loss feels easier. When they are disrupted, fat loss becomes a constant struggle. Insulin is one of the most important hormones involved. Its job is to move sugar from the blood into cells. When insulin stays high for long periods, fat burning shuts down. The body shifts into storage mode. Even at low calories, fat loss slows. Certain foods raise insulin far more than people realize. Not just sweets, not just junk food. Many everyday foods do this quietly. They keep insulin elevated for hours, sometimes all day. Other hormones are affected too. Leptin controls fullness. When it stops working properly, the brain does not receive the signal to stop eating. Ghrelin controls hunger. When it rises too often, cravings feel constant. Inflammation also plays a role. Some foods trigger low-grade inflammation in the body. This interferes with insulin signaling. It makes cells less responsive. The body responds by producing even more insulin. Over time, this creates resistance. The body needs stronger signals to do the same job. Fat storage increases. Energy drops. Hunger rises. When the foods that disrupt these signals are removed, the body responds quickly. Insulin levels begin to fall. Hunger becomes more stable. Energy improves. The body shifts out of storage mode. Fat release is not forced. It happens as a natural response. The body starts using stored energy again because the hormonal environment finally allows it. Refined sugar has a direct and powerful effect on the body. The moment it enters the bloodstream, blood sugar rises rapidly. The body responds by releasing insulin. Insulin's job is to clear sugar from the blood and move it into cells. That response is normal. The problem is how often it happens. When sugar is consumed frequently, insulin is released again and again throughout the day. Each spike tells the body to stop burning fat and start storing energy. As long as insulin stays elevated, fat burning is essentially paused. The body is locked in storage mode. Many people associate sugar only with desserts and candy, but refined sugar appears in far more places. Sweetened drinks, breakfast foods, sauces, packaged snacks, even foods marketed as natural or clean. So-called healthy sugars behave the same way in the body. Fruit juice delivers large amounts of sugar without fiber. Honey raises blood sugar just like table sugar. Agave and syrups are still sugar once they are metabolized. The source may sound better, but the hormonal response is similar. Liquid sugar is especially problematic. It enters the bloodstream quickly. There is little chewing, little digestion time. The insulin spike is fast and strong. Over time, repeated spikes change how the body reacts. Cells become less sensitive to insulin. The body compensates by producing more. Higher insulin levels become the new normal. At that point, fat loss becomes difficult. Even when calories are reduced, insulin remains elevated. The body continues to store fat because it is being told to do so. Hunger often increases as well. Blood sugar rises quickly, then drops. Cravings follow. Energy crashes. Removing refined sugar reduces these spikes. Insulin levels begin to stabilize. The body spends more time in a fat-burning state instead of a storage state. This shift happens without forcing restriction because the hormonal signal has changed. Refined flour affects the body in a way that surprises many people. Foods like bread, pasta, and bakery items do not taste sweet, but they behave like sugar once digestion begins. Refined flour is quickly broken down into glucose. In some cases, it raises blood sugar faster than table sugar itself. This happens because the grain has been stripped of its fiber and structure. What remains is a fine powder that the body absorbs rapidly. There is very little slowing the process down. Glucose enters the bloodstream quickly. Insulin is released just as fast. White bread is a common example. Within minutes, blood sugar rises sharply. The body reacts with a strong insulin response. Fat burning slows. Storage increases. Pasta and bakery items behave in a similar way. Even when they are not sweet, they place a heavy demand on insulin. Portion size matters less than people think. Even moderate amounts can trigger large blood sugar swings. After the spike comes the drop. Blood sugar falls. Energy declines. Hunger returns sooner than expected. Cravings begin to build again, often for more refined carbohydrates. This cycle repeats throughout the day. Eat refined flour, spike insulin, store fat, feel hungry again. Over time, the body adapts by keeping insulin levels elevated for longer periods. This makes fat loss increasingly difficult. The body stays in storage mode even between meals. Refined flour also affects fullness signals. Because it digests so quickly, it does not provide lasting satiety. The stomach empties faster. The brain receives weaker signals that enough food has been consumed. As a result, it becomes easy to overeat without feeling satisfied. Calories accumulate without the sense of fullness that normally limits intake. When refined flour is eaten regularly, fat storage becomes the default response. Blood sugar instability becomes normal. Hunger becomes frequent. The body is pushed further away from a fat-burning state and deeper into a cycle of storage and craving. Seed oils are one of the most overlooked factors in stalled weight loss. Vegetable oil, canola oil, and soybean oil are used almost everywhere. They appear in restaurant meals, packaged foods, sauces, and dressings. Most people consume them daily without realizing it. These oils are highly processed and unstable. When they are heated, they oxidize easily. This creates compounds that trigger inflammation inside the body. Not the kind you feel immediately, but low-grade, constant inflammation. Inflammation changes how the body handles energy. It interferes with insulin signaling at the cellular level. Cells stop responding properly. Glucose has a harder time entering cells. The body responds by producing more insulin. As insulin levels rise, fat burning slows. The body shifts towards storage. Even if calorie intake is reduced, the metabolic signal is still pointing toward fat preservation. Inflammation also affects the mitochondria, the parts of cells responsible for energy production. When they are not working efficiently, metabolism slows. The body becomes less flexible at using fat for fuel. Energy levels drop. Seed oils are especially problematic because they are rich in omega-6 fatty acids. In excess, omega-6 fats promote inflammatory pathways. The balance between omega-6 and omega-3 fats becomes disrupted. This imbalance keeps inflammation elevated over time. Unlike natural fats that support satiety, seed oils do not send strong fullness signals. Meals cooked with these oils are easy to overconsume. Hunger returns quickly. Cravings increase. Insulin resistance gradually worsens in this environment. The body needs more insulin to manage the same amount of food. Fat storage becomes easier. Fat release becomes more difficult. Because seed oils are so widespread, their effects often go unnoticed. They quietly shape the metabolic environment. Over time, this environment makes fat loss feel slow and resistant, even when other parts of the diet appear controlled. Ultra-processed snacks are designed very differently from real food. Chips, crackers, and many so-called low-fat snacks are not created to nourish the body. They are created to keep people eating. These products are engineered for maximum reward. The combination of refined carbohydrates, added fats, salt, and flavor enhancers activates pleasure pathways in the brain. Each bite encourages the next one. Stopping feels harder than expected. Because these snacks are heavily processed, they digest quickly. They require little effort from the body. Blood sugar rises fast. Insulin follows. Fat burning slows soon after eating them. At the same time, these foods provide very little real nutrition. They are low in protein, low in fiber, low in micronutrients. The body receives calories but not the signals of nourishment. Satiety hormones rely on nutrient density. When food lacks those nutrients, fullness signals stay weak. The stomach may feel full for a moment, but the brain does not register satisfaction. Hunger returns soon after. Low-fat labeling often makes the problem worse. When fat is removed, manufacturers replace it with refined starches and sugars. This increases the blood sugar response. Cravings intensify instead of decreasing. These snacks also disrupt normal eating rhythms. They are easy to eat between meals. They do not require preparation. They fit into moments of boredom or stress. This leads to constant insulin stimulation throughout the day. With insulin elevated so often, fat storage becomes the default state. The body rarely gets a break long enough to access stored energy. Over time, the brain associates these snacks with quick relief and reward. Cravings become learned responses, not hunger, but habit. Because ultra-processed snacks fail to satisfy on a biological level, people often eat more without realizing it. Calories add up quietly. Fat loss becomes harder, not because of lack of effort, but because the foods themselves are working against the body's natural appetite controls. Liquid calories affect the body very differently than solid food. Soda, sweet tea, and energy drinks deliver large amounts of sugar in a short time. Because they are liquids, they move through the stomach quickly. There is very little chewing, very little digestion. The brain relies on physical fullness and digestion time to register satiety. Liquid calories bypass most of those signals. The stomach empties fast. The brain does not receive a strong message that energy has been consumed. As a result, total intake increases without awareness. Calories are consumed, but appetite does not decrease. Meals that follow are often the same size as usual, or larger. Blood sugar rises rapidly after drinking these beverages. Insulin spikes sharply. Fat burning slows almost immediately. The body shifts into storage mode. Energy drinks add another layer to the problem. Caffeine temporarily increases alertness. Sugar raises blood glucose. When the effect wears off, energy drops. Hunger increases. Cravings return. Sweetened beverages also disrupt normal hunger rhythms. Because they are easy to consume, they are often taken between meals. This keeps insulin elevated throughout the day. The body rarely enters a fat-burning state. Liquid sugar is especially deceptive. It does not feel like food. It feels harmless. But metabolically, it behaves like a concentrated sugar load. Over time, frequent intake trains the body to expect quick energy. Insulin responses become stronger. Sensitivity decreases. More insulin is needed to manage the same amount of sugar. This environment favors fat storage. Calories consumed in liquid form are more likely to be stored rather than burned. At the same time, appetite remains high. Because fullness is never properly triggered, people often eat the same amount of solid food later in the day. Total calories rise quietly. Fat gain accelerates without a clear moment where overeating feels obvious. Frequent late-night eating interferes with the body's natural rhythm. The human body follows a daily cycle that controls hormones, digestion, and energy use. As the evening progresses, insulin sensitivity naturally declines. The body becomes less efficient at handling food. At night, the body is designed to shift into repair and recovery. Growth hormone rises. Fat is released to be used for energy during sleep. This process works best when insulin levels are low. Eating late changes that signal. Food intake raises blood sugar. Insulin is released. Fat burning is paused. The body switches back into storage mode at the very time it should be accessing stored energy. Late meals are often larger than planned. Hunger builds through the day. Fatigue lowers decision control. Portions increase easily. The type of food eaten late also matters. Even moderate carbohydrates can cause a stronger insulin response at night. The body processes them more slowly. Blood sugar remains elevated longer. Sleep quality is affected as well. Digestion competes with recovery. The nervous system stays active. Deep sleep becomes harder to reach. Poor sleep alters hunger hormones the next day. Ghrelin increases. Leptin decreases. Appetite rises. Cravings intensify. This creates a feedback loop. Late eating disrupts sleep. Poor sleep increases hunger. Increased hunger leads to more late eating. Over time, insulin remains elevated well into the night. Fat release is delayed or reduced. The body spends fewer hours in a fat-burning state. Even when total calories seem reasonable, timing affects hormonal response. The same meal eaten earlier produces a different outcome. At night, storage signals dominate. Frequent late-night eating trains the body to expect energy at the wrong time. The natural overnight fat-burning window shrinks. Recovery suffers. Weight loss slows, not because of effort, but because the metabolic rhythm has been disrupted. The moment these 6 foods were removed from the diet, the body began to respond in ways that were almost immediate but subtle at first. Insulin, which had been running high for hours each day, started to come down without constant spikes from sugar, refined flour, ultra-processed snacks, and liquid calories. The hormone was finally allowed to return to a normal rhythm. Lower insulin meant that fat was no longer locked away, and the body could access stored energy more easily. Inflammation, which had been quietly affecting metabolism and slowing the body's energy systems, also began to reduce. Seed oils, refined foods, and frequent late-night meals had been keeping the body in a state of low-grade stress. Removing them gave the immune system a chance to calm down. With lower inflammation, cells became more responsive again, and the body could process nutrients more efficiently. Hunger stabilized over the following days and weeks. The highs and lows caused by blood sugar spikes disappeared. Cravings became less intense, and meals started to feel more satisfying. The body no longer demanded constant input to feel safe, and the brain could finally register when enough had been eaten. Satiety signals, which had been muted or ignored for months, returned to their normal function. The body began to feel safe. Without the constant bombardment of disruptive foods, the metabolism shifted. Hormones could communicate clearly, and the nervous system no longer interpreted energy fluctuations as a threat. This sense of safety allowed the body to shift naturally into a fat-burning state. As a result, fat loss began to follow. It was not forced through extreme restriction or excessive exercise. Instead, the body's natural systems were finally allowed to work as they were designed. Stored energy was accessed without resistance. Weight started to drop steadily. Energy levels improved. Hunger became predictable. Meals became easier to manage. The changes were not dramatic overnight, but the combination of lower insulin, reduced inflammation, stabilized hunger, and a body that felt safe created a perfect environment for fat to be released naturally. The results were visible, measurable, and sustainable because the body had returned to balance. This was never about following a strict diet or forcing yourself to eat less. It was about removal. Removing the foods that disrupt your hormones, spike insulin, and trigger inflammation. When you take away what harms your body, you allow it to do the work naturally. Fat loss stops being a struggle and starts happening automatically. If this video helped you understand why weight loss can finally become easier, make sure to hit the like button. Subscribe to our channel for more science-based weight loss tips. No gimmicks, no hype, just clear, factual guidance to help your body work with you, not against you.